sense of relief after the cabinet lifted a 15-day lockdown in Kigali and 8 other districts, which was adopted as the country battled yet another surge in COVID-19 infections.
It is good to hear that people in Kigali who have been out of work for 15 days will resume their daily activities. You bet it is something everyone is happy about.
Men have been living on their savings without any income. There is a feeling that they will now be able to work and be able to save because they have spent their previous savings.
Officials say the government lifted the lockdown to ensure continued economic recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has grappled the country and the entire world since December 2019, when it was first reported in Wuhan, China. However, local government minister Jean-Marie Vianney warns people about making unnecessary movements and businesses going against the prevailing health protocols, especially those that have been given green light to resume operations during the partial reopening.
Kuva mu rugo kugenda ugiye gutembera ntacyo ugiye gukora mu kanya twize kuba twumva abaturage bamwe.
Unnecessary movements such as those who will be visiting family and friends after the lockdown should be avoided. We have reopened for continued economic recovery and development, but also being mindful of the health precautions because COVID-19 is still here.
Iterambere rikomeza ririho ariko noneho turazirikana ko nubwo tugomba kwirinda kurushaho kuko ntabwo COVID yari yashira.
According to the Minister of Health, the decision to lift the lockdown was made after analyzing the results of the measures that have been put in place and seeing a reasonable drop in infection rates and deaths. In the last 15 days, the Minister of Health undertook a series of COVID-19 mass testing campaign in hotspots including the city of Kigali and showed a drop in infections, and the prevalence rate in some areas fell from 10% to 3%. This prompted the government to lift the lockdown, but rather introduce 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew. Meanwhile, nationwide vaccination campaign and mass testing, especially in sectors located along Rwanda's borderlines, are some of the measures that will be taken to continue the fight against COVID-19.
It have been made based on the current incidence in the general population, which is lower than 5%. We believe this is a minimum level of where we can lift people going to move and do their business, but with limited numbers in different sizes and also observing public health measures. The second, there are areas with high incidence of COVID, so public health measures are being enforced and home-based management also is being improved. We believe those two measures will help us, combining with other public health measures across the country, to contain, also to deal with the COVID, while the economy also is people still doing their business to survive. Absolutely. How effective was the lockdown? Did you achieve the desired results? What did the lockdown help in the fight against the virus? The objective was to help us to understand the distribution of the disease across sectors, especially in Kigali and other districts where we have seen a big number of cases. So this helps us now to map and to differentiate where there is a high incidence of COVID in some located areas rather than other where the disease, the incidence is still low, even below 2%. So that's where we try to now to think how to manage the COVID differently, not taking the whole country as in one way, but trying to put effort on areas where to have that high incidence, try to enforce public measures, try to test many people, and to see how it can contain this transmission, the disease across the country. Absolutely. We seem to be playing hide and seek with the virus, especially with the changing dynamics of the virus, with new variants and mutations and all that. Beyond just the 2 weeks that you give the measures, is there a long-term plan of dealing with the transmission of COVID-19 in the country? We may believe even tomorrow we can have another new variant which is more severe than what we have now. So our long-term plan is try to acquire enough vaccines and try to speed up vaccination, especially in those vulnerable groups. That this is what we are going to do from next week, where we try to vaccinate a big number of people in Kigali, example, rather also in the other districts, depending on the number of vaccines we are receiving. So we believe by end of September, we'll be able to vaccinate around 1.5 million of people, which is, if we talk about the population of below 18, to be around 20–30% of the population. So we believe this is one of the strategy to deal with COVID, and try also to minimize also the transmission across people who are really very high risk and who are moving in doing the business.
Okay.
The second is how to also improve the management of cases. So now I think all hospitals in the country, they are being piped, and we are bringing oxygen plant across the hospitals to be able now to manage cases locally at early stage to avoid this complication. Third one also is training of nurses, doctors to be able now to be able to understand the disease, to detect complications area, and also to manage those cases quickly as much as possible.
Absolutely.
The other one is now communication, enforcement, awareness, trying also to make the population more participatory, and try to help the public health staff to continue also to understand the disease and the burden, and also to be more engaged in that fight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Many thanks, Dr. Tarsis Mhunga, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.